Is this the one and only Denis O'Hare?
Hi there. How are you?
Hey, good, Dennis. How you doing?
Good.
All right. You know, it's kind of funny because I got to know you through the world of True Blood, and you were probably the person I could not stand the most on that show.
Lies.
Do you get that a lot, like from characters you've done, where people are just like, "I could not stand you on that show"?
You know, not that you're an outlier, but most people love Russell. They love his defiance and his sort of amazing joie de vivre. So you're a little alone in that. I will tell you quite honestly, most people love their Russell. But for instance, last year in American Horror Story, I think everybody pretty much hated Stanley. Not a whole lot of Stanley defenders. And definitely I played characters who people just loathe. But that's my job sometimes.
But yeah, like on that point, like it's kind of like a badge of honor as well, isn't it?
Well, you know, I don't necessarily care if people like me. It'd be nice if they like me, and I try to behave in the world like an honest and decent person. But if people decide they're not going to like me personally, what am I going to do? And
right.
You know, I take that approach with my characters. You know, I know a lot of actors who will not play characters that will show them in a bad light, and I think that's weird and cowardly. Then don't be an actor. And so I like showing all facets of humanity, and you know, I always try to inject characters with some sort of contradictory impulses. So even if a character is quote unquote bad, there'll be moments where you will find yourselves conflicted because he does something and you go, oh, now what do I think? And I love that struggle.
Yeah, do you come across that a lot where people don't want to play characters and you're just kind of like scratching your head, like, why not?
Well, no, but yeah. I mean, it definitely happens. I don't want to name names, but I watch certain performances on TV and I go, oh God, there you go again, being self-righteous. Basically playing you know what I mean? Playing a person who is sort of ostensibly in the wrong, but you're playing them so self-righteously that you can't see it. I find it boring, you know, or I find it boring that people want to play characters all the time that are, you know, quote unquote good guys. It's boring.
Right.
What they usually do is they give them one problem like alcoholism, you know, or a struggle with the bottle or a bad temper.
Right.
And that's their way of saying, oh, this is a flawed individual. Again, boring.
Yeah. I guess probably not only just yourself, but other actors in general. Do you guys, whether you're watching a show or a movie or a play, do you sit there and kind of like in your head nitpick little things or pick things out that could have been done differently?
You know, when it comes to acting, I don't look to criticize, but it happens naturally. You'll watch a show and you'll think, oh, okay, he couldn't do that. He couldn't land that big moment. You can hear what the script is asking of a person. You go, oh, he couldn't land that. Or ultimately, you see someone, you go, wow, that was really a nice moment. I probably couldn't have done that. That's really interesting.
Yeah, because I know I used to be a professional wrestler. So when I'd be watching wrestling on TV, I would do that. Like I would see something and you would have them moments where you're like cringing like, oh, no. But then you have them other moments where you get that pop and you're like, yes, they nailed it.
You know, it's weird with acting only because you're not, as an actor, in control of finally what ends up on the screen. You are to some extent, but, you know, we'll do multiple takes. And, for instance, I remember very clearly in American Horror Story, Stanley had a scene and he had lines that I found very in a scene with Evan Peters where he's asking him basically to give up his hand. And there's a really cool section where Stanley is sort of spinning out this fantasy that Evan Peters could act like he was a soldier and he had lost them in a war. And I was playing it sort of like Stanley, for a moment, believes his own hype and is longing for a better, I suppose, version of Evan Peters' character, Jimmy. And they cut it. You know, they cut the lines, and they also cut that take. I've done takes where I've played them tearfully and incredibly conflicted and sympathetically, and they'll go, let's do it again, and let's not do it so tearfully. I think he's more pissed. and then that's the tape they end up using. So we may do multiple takes. And, especially with me, I tend to give wildly different takes. I have no control over what they decide to pick. And so in that respect, they shape the character sometimes more than I do in the final edit.
Huh. Now, with True Blood, when it came time for them to kill you off, was it kind of like sad that you're seeing your character go bye-bye?
I've actually kind of died twice in a weird way. The first time was at the end of season 3. I got buried in concrete, which anybody who knows vampires knows that can't be the end because, you have to decapitate us or put us in the sun or stake us.
Right.
And so I always knew that I was possibly going to come back because Alan Ball had told me. And then when I came back in season 5, I sort of thought maybe I would hang around a little bit, but I was glad to go because I'd rather go out with the character having integrity than have the character just dribble on for season after season. And Russell was a huge character, and he sort of needed to be front and center. And if he wasn't front and center, then he became he became defanged, if you pardon the pun.
Right.
And I felt that was going to happen if he lived beyond season 5. And so I was happy to have him. And what I thought was kind of a glorious note.
Now, how about I thought it was kind of funny too. Like you've done in the past episodes of SVU. With Christopher Maloney, and then all of a sudden Christopher Maloney is now on your kind of like home turf, working with you. Was there a big difference in working with him twice over?
Oh, there's always a little bit of difference when you're on a set, and sets have their own power structure, and they have their own pecking order. And SCU is his set, and True Blood wasn't. It wasn't his set, and so there was a little bit of jockeying that always goes on between guys. And we had a funny moment where I'm going to kill him, which I think, I'm not sure how he felt about being killed early in the show or not, but he at one point said to me, "I think we should struggle when you're trying to kill me." And I said, "No, I don't think so, because I'm actually the most powerful vampire. I'm much more powerful than you are. But I think I put up a good fight." And I was like, "No, not really." So I decided to try to meet him halfway by sort of having Russell pretend that he was struggling. And so I had Russell kind of pretending to struggle and then give kind of an eye roll and just kind of go, "You know what, I'm going to end this," and just killed him. And there was some sort of satisfaction in that.
Now, how about a friend of our show, Carolyn Hennessy? You also got to work with her at that same time. How was it working with her?
She was great. She was great. I loved her.
She's a piece of work. Yeah.
Yeah, I love the whole Authority gang. We had a really nice time. That whole season was a lot of fun to be with those actors. Christopher Hayedall, who's a pretty fantastic actor, and I got him forgetting and blanking on two of the names. Peter Mensah, who also did Spartacus, who's a really terrific actor and a really nice guy. It was just great to hang out with those people. We had a lot of fun around that table.
That's awesome. Now, with American Horror Story, you've done all 3 of their shows, correct? But different characters?
Well, no. This is their 5th season, and I didn't do the 2nd season. So I'll have done 4 out of their 5 seasons. All with different characters. All different characters. Yeah. First season, Murder House, I was Larry, who was called the burn guy, and then I wasn't in Asylum. I had a conflict and couldn't do it. And then the 3rd season, Coven, I was Spaulding, the mute butler. And then last season, Freak Show, I was Stanley, the freak collector. And then this year, I'm somebody who I can't talk about.
Do you like it that way, where you're different characters? Would you like, or?
Yeah, I think it's amazing. I think it's really cool. I think that the structure is a little bit of shorthand. I'm not sure that the seasons as they exist could go beyond what we shoot. It would dilute them. They're sort of engineered to end when at 13 episodes, and so our arcs come kind of fast and furious. You can always provide more backstory, but at a certain point it becomes padding. And so I like the sort of 1 year arc, or the 1 season arc. I think it's pretty cool.
Cool. No, as a matter of fact, I mentioned to you the other day when I met you at the Monster Mania convention about little Jodie Amgay, working with her.
Yes. Now remind me.
The how was it working with her? I mean, being that she doesn't speak English and she's just so tiny.
Oh, Jyoti. Sorry.
Jyoti, yes.
Yes, Jyoti. Oh, she was great. You know, yeah, she had a translator all the time on set, and but she still, you know, was fun to joke around with. She was very tight with Erica, who played Amazon Eve, and so those two hung around a lot. I tended to be respectful of her. I kept a little bit of a distance. I didn't want to sort of overwhelm her, but we definitely spent some time together. Her parents were lovely, and the guy who handled her, I became friends with and loved him a lot. She was great. I mean, she was always a little freaky because you didn't want to hurt her, and so whenever we were doing anything with her, you were always a little terrified.
Yeah, I was going to say that. I mean, it's got to be kind of terrifying.
She's
so fragile. Yeah,
exactly.
and I guess too, like, I mean, you've had the chance to be around her in person, where people seeing her, whether TV or on the internet, they really probably can't put in perspective how really tiny she is.
Yes. Yeah. No, she's very, very, very small. It's pretty extraordinary when you're around her, and all of her features are scaled down, so everything is kind of small. But she was a fierce iPhone lover. Spent a lot of time texting with her little nails. So the iPhone was her best friend in many ways.
Oh, that's funny. No, like I said, I mentioned about the Monster Mania convention. Do you do the convention scene a lot?
I don't do it a lot. I started doing it a bit ago in Australia. I did one called Supernova, and then I did Dragon Con one year. I did one Wizard World in New York, and then I've done Cincinnati and Detroit. So I guess I've done about 5 or 6. And I'm a newbie, I guess, in that respect. But, they're all different. MasterCon was great. It was great for me. I really liked the crowds. I liked the setup. I liked everything about it. Some of the other ones haven't been so fun.
Sure.
I did not enjoy Wizard World in New York. It was not a good experience for me. But I think I quit the business for a while. And my guy, Dominic, who handles me, coaxed me back in very, very effectively.
That that whole world, that could be like a full-time job in itself.
It could be, absolutely. I do know that some people spend a lot of time doing it. For me, I think I would burn out pretty quickly on that. And I'm also, frankly, busy. I don't really have that much time. I never know my schedule, and so it's always a little perilous for me to agree to one of these because I don't know what's going to happen. And actors do cancel. I heard someone talking about actors canceling, and they were mad at them. And I said, you know what? Don't be mad at them because we don't cancel lightly. If we cancel, it's usually because we can't do it. We have every intention of showing up. Why would we commit? If we cancel, it's because you have a job commitment that will get you fired if you don't show up.
Exactly. So, people who don't know, you have more of a background beside just TV or movie roles you've been in. You do theater as well.
Yes, I've actually been on Broadway, I don't know how many times, 10, 11, 12. I've done Broadway musicals. I've won a Tony for performance in Broadway in 2003. I've been nominated for Tony in 2004. I've won numerous awards for my Broadway stuff. I'm also a playwright. And on off-Broadway, by the way. I've done a lot of off-Broadway. That's kind of my home, off-Broadway. But I'm also a playwright, and I write with a writing partner, Lisa Peterson. And we've written a play called An Iliad, which is a one-man show about Homer's Iliad, which we toured worldwide. We toured in Australia. We just toured in Egypt, across the U.S. We're hoping to get to South America next year and back to the Middle East. And then Lisa and I have another play we've written called The Good Book, which is a play about the Bible, which we presented at the Court Theater, and we're working on a new version of it. And then we have a new commission from Princeton University and McCarter Theater about the rise and fall of the Roman Empire. So I spend a lot of time talking with my playwright partner and working on our shows, and also touring the world doing my performance of An Iliad. And then I've also written a screenplay, which I'm trying to get made with Anna Paquin and Stephen Moyer as producers. It's
cool.
a screenplay that I've been working on for quite a while, and I hope to shoot it next year.
Now, you're saying the one-man show, like, as a matter of fact, my wife and I, we just recently went and saw Chaz Palminteri do the one-man show at the Bronx Tale recently. And, you know, I've known about that show for years, but I was always kind of scared. Like, I was thinking to myself, how does one guy just get up there by himself on stage and be able to pull off multiple characters and make it good? And then when we went, I was completely blown away. So how can you do? I mean, I relate that kind of like to musicians who go up there. They could have a full 4 or 5 piece band normally, but they'll go up there by themselves with an acoustic guitar and do it all. I mean, that's just very impressive to me.
Well, it's a good analogy too to use with music and one instrument. The truth of the matter is that the art form is what you're coming to see. And in terms of music, you're coming to hear music. And in terms of theater, you're coming to hear a story. And whether the story is told by 10 people or one person, if it's a good story, it's a good story. You know,
right.
And so I have the benefit of performing a great story. It's the story of the fall of Troy, the Trojan War. It's a great story. They're great characters. So as long as I don't completely mess it up, I'm kind of guaranteed that the audience is going to be spellbound because it's a fantastic story.
Right.
And so that's half the battle right there, and I think, for me.
It also shows, people that wouldn't normally see, where they would just see you in one role doing a TV or movie. Here they're seeing you do multiple roles in one show, in one night, in person.
Yeah, I mean, it's the thing about most actors, even TV and film actors, we're all capable of doing a lot. And, it's just we don't always get an opportunity to do a lot. And
right.
So that's why I think actors jump at the chance of doing a comedy if they're known as a dramatic actor, or like Jim Carrey wanting to cross over and do drama if he's a comic actor. Because we all have a bigger range than the audience would suppose. That's part of our training as actors, that we usually can do more than one thing. Right.
Now, again, where you're multi-talented, you're also an artist as well?
Well, I wouldn't go that far. I have intimations of or aspirations to be an artist, and I make things called Cornell boxes. And what they are, they're collections that you put inside a wooden frame or a box. And I have no real drawing ability, and I've always lamented that. But I have, as I said, I have aspirations to be a kind of an artist, and I do whatever I can in whatever form I can.
But it's again creating, so it shows that you're a very creative person.
Yeah, I think most people who are at all creative have more than one outlet. You usually do find that somebody who is, I don't know, a writer may also have other sorts of things they like to do. I also do a lot of photography. I play a lot with photos, and I make a lot of photo gifts for people, photo collages. It's just when you have something to say or express, it finds multiple ways to have that happen.
And going back again, where you had mentioned about winning awards and being nominated, you've had 27 different award nominations throughout your career, which you've won 13 of them.
I didn't know that.
See that? The power of the internet.
Yeah.
Which one has been like your most meaningful to you?
Oh gosh, that's interesting. I have to think about that for a second. The Tony is an extraordinary thing because it has a sort of high profile. But I have to say, for me, it was the Obies. The Obies are an award that are given off-Broadway by the Village Voice, and I'm ultimately a downtown theater baby, which means off-Broadway of a certain kind. They represent a tradition of sort of risk-taking and alternative thinking, and I like to think of myself in that way more. So I guess, oddly enough, the Obie would be my thing. Sorry, I had to go outside for a second. Sorry for any background noise.
And between Broadway or plays, theater, television, film, which would be, which I would imagine is going to be theater, would be the one you prefer the most?
Well, actually, I wouldn't say theater. I wouldn't pick any. It's kind of like having three kids. You can say, well, this is my smartest kid, this is my most creative kid, and this is my most fun kid. But so for me, I feel like the ability to go back and forth between all of them is really energizing. And
Right.
if I haven't done a play for a long time, I really, really miss it. If I've done too much theater, I start to get burnt out. I do feel like I haven't really been able to do a big part in a film, like a really leading role in a film, and satisfy that part of my career. So I'm mostly interested these days in working in film. I love TV. I love the opportunity it gives me. I love the kind of parts I get to play. I love the work ethic in TV. They're also different. I really do. I couldn't pick one and say that would be the thing I want to do my whole life. I'm very happy to do all of them.
Sure. Now, you and your husband Hugo, you guys have a son together.
Yeah.
Has being a father, like, maybe inspired you to want to get into children's films or more children-based things?
I haven't pursued that, but it definitely occurred to me that it'd be fun to do something like that. But at the same token, I don't want him sort of confusing me with a character. And
right.
I'm happy to watch Frozen 90 times, or Big Hero 6, which is one of my fantastic movies. So I'm happy to have them do it. I would love to do a cartoon. I think it'd be a fun thing to do, an animation. But I hadn't really thought about that. Yeah.
Yeah, I would definitely lean towards Big Hero 6 myself. I'm a little frozen out.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
I have some listener questions too as well.
Okay, cool.
One wanted to know what it was like working with Alexander Skarsgård on True Blood.
Oh, he's great. He really is. He's for such a serious character, he's really a fun guy. He's pretty goofy. He likes to joke around, and that made it really fun on the set. But also really good to work with on the set. A gifted actor, always surprising. Great guy.
How about, actually you mentioned this one earlier, the cement scene where you were killed off originally as Russell. Was that you being buried in the cement?
Yes, it was. That
Wow.
was me. Yeah, it was pretty intense. We did it outside at night, and it was pretty crazy. I remember that the cement stuff itself was kind of a weird composite material, and it had to be sort of light, so that it had to be sort of light so that it didn't kill me.
Right.
But the problem was that I wasn't heavy enough, and I was too buoyant. I kept floating, which kind of kills the idea. It kills the illusion. So they had a guy off screen who was sort of holding my legs so I wouldn't float away and trying to pull me down. And then when it actually came, they wanted this weird effect where my face went under, and they asked me to go under and hold my breath. And so I did, and I went under for a long time, and they all got worried. They were like, cut, Dennis! Because I was under cement for quite a while. But it was fun. I mean, I was wearing some kind of weird wetsuit thing under my coat so I wouldn't get too cold. It was definitely cold.
Gotcha.
That was one of the weirder things I'd ever done. Yeah.
That sounds freaky. I'd be freaking out.
Yeah, it's pretty great. But, I like to do my own stunts when I can, so I really pushed hard for doing that stunt.
Cool. Another person wanted to know, what did the blood taste like?
It was very pleasant. I think if I recall, it was kind of pepperminty.
Wow.
There's more than one kind of blood, of course. There is blood that you cannot eat, and there's blood that you can eat. And the blood that you cannot eat is oil-based and toxic, and it has a certain, sort of sheen to the camera, and it's better-looking blood. It doesn't look so fakey for the camera. But the blood you can eat is a different consistency, a different color, and looks in the camera differently. And they tried not to use that as much as they could. They wanted to have the good-looking blood.
Right.
And we always had, bottles of both around, which is really interesting. There's a lot of blood expertise. And True Blood had its own blood formula. They had their own sort of, blood secrets.
That's funny.
It's called True Blood.
Now, it was the True Blood. Now, here's one. I'm not even sure what this, which character or which season on American Horror Story this pertains to, but a female fan wanted to know, what was really in your pants?
Oh, yes, that's Stanley. That's a Stanley question. There were 2 or 3 scenes where we see people reacting to what Stanley had in his pants. And I know that they flirted with the idea of showing it at some point or having Stanley, be collected as a freak himself, but it never came to pass, probably because it wouldn't pass muster or ratings. And
right.
I cannot reveal it. I cannot tell you. You have to use your imagination. Some of those things will have to go down in history as something that only I know.
Oh, that's too funny. Dennis, this has been great. Anything you want to promote out there that you got coming up?
No, just that, Hotel, we're shooting Hotel right now. It's already been a really fun season. I've been able to shoot so far with Kathy Bates and Chloe Sevigny and Wes Bentley and Matt Bomer and Max Greenfeld, and it's been a great cast. Ryan has directed the first episode. It's been really nice to be with him on set because we get to sort of be with our creative genius, and he's fun to be with. And just look out for Hotel, October 20th.
Cool.
Oh,
Very
and
cool.
I did a movie about Edgar Allan Poe. I forgot about that.
Oh,
it's a
really?
Great thing for PBS. Yeah, PBS American Masters. It won't be on until 2016, October 2016. But I'm thinking it's going to be a pretty beautiful little movie. It's not really a biopic. It's more of a poetic evocation of Poe. But I think it's going to be beautiful. Yeah.
Actually, my wife is actually a distant relative of Edgar Allan Poe.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Then she should be interested.
Yeah, she definitely will be. Wow, that's crazy. So how about, where can everybody find you? On social media, website?
I'm on Twitter. I'm at Denis O'Hare. It's 1 N and no apostrophe, my last name. I've also got a website, so DenisO'Hare.com. And I'm on Instagram. I think I'm on Instagram. I'm OHDENIS. DENIS. Denis on Instagram. And, follow me there.
Cool. Awesome.
Yeah.
And one last thing before I let you go, if you can just cut me an ID for the show. This is Denis O'Hare, and you're listening to Totally Driven Radio.
This is Denis O'Hare, and you're listening to Totally Driven Radio.
Awesome. Dennis, thank you again. It was great finally catching
pleasure.
up.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Thank you. We'll be in touch.
Great. Have a good one.
You too. Take care.
Okay, bye-bye.